everybody, I'm Courtney Hashy, cookbook author and blogger. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Quart of Kitchen. Today I'm making another shake-up. I'm shaking up pasta fagioli. Shaking it up in 3 ways. First, a lot of pasta fagiolis, some anyway, have meat in them. So be ground beef or maybe some sausage. I'm using chicken thighs instead. And I know this is extreme, but instead of using pasta, I'm using Farro. It's a grain, it's a really hearty grain, so I'm doing that instead. And the third thing I'm changing, I'm going to blush it at the end. So let me show you how this goes. The reason I wanted to tell you that, this is people ask me, how do you come up with these shake-ups? I come up with shake-ups, I start with a dish that most people know or a lot of people know, and then I just try to change them and alter them and change them to a completely different dish. So that's kind of what this is. Let's start with the chicken. So I have chicken thighs, 1 pound of chicken thighs. I have a couple of them already seared off. So what I coated them in was, I'll show you right now, what I coated them in was Old Bay. Now, again, I've said this before, Old Bay is so underutilized. A lot of people just use salt and pepper and think, Old Bay has celery salt, black pepper, red pepper, and paprika in it already. So why isn't it used more than just for seafood? I don't understand. That's what I'm using on the thighs here. So I have this over medium heat, and I'm gonna put, I have the one side already down, as you saw the other 2 already done. And then, yes, of course, I'm gonna put on granulated onion, granulated garlic. And then we'll move on to the vegetables. So for the vegetables, the vegetable part is what goes in every fagioli, or all the fagiolis I know anyway. So that's the granulated and granulated garlic. No reason for salt and pepper because that's in the Old Bay. So now, as far as the vegetables go, we're gonna let that go for a little bit. This side might actually be done. Let me flip it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So let's flip it and let that go on about medium. We're not looking to cook it through. We're just looking to just get it seared on the outside. This is like a stew. It's hearty, so it's gonna cook through with everything else. And just as far as trimming it, I like to use kitchen shears. Just trim a little bit of the fat that's on the outside, and underneath there's sometimes some fat in the muscle. And kitchen shears are the easiest way to do that. Don't worry if there's a little fat. It's gonna melt down and you won't even know it's there. So now when it comes to the vegetables, so I have 2 celery stalks, 2 carrots, and then I have about 3 to 4, depending on how much garlic you like. I just grate it. You can mince it. That's what's in here. Now, I'm going to show you the onion. I'm sure I've done this in the past. This is just a yellow onion, normal size yellow onion. So leave the root end on. I only show this because I hate to go against, I'm not going against you chefs, I love you. I'm not going against you. I just like to cut corners. And so this is how I do it. So keep the root end on, always. Cut the other end off, peel. I'm gonna peel both sides. So, sounds like that chicken's almost already done. It's not seared anyway. Okay, now, one thing I don't understand. Why do you cut this way? When nature gave you layers of your onions, it grows that way. Just chop it straight down. If you want them tiny chops, go closer together. If you want medium size, go further. I'm going for medium here. And then you just go straight down. And look, it's diced. I don't see the reason. I'm not understanding the reason to cut towards yourself this way. So I just like to cut corners. So hopefully that'll help you out. I think it's a nice tip. Okay, so now we have our carrots, our celery, our onion. I can smell that chicken, I can smell that Old Bay and the onion. Granulated onion, granulated garlic, that's ready to go. I can tell. So let me get the chicken out, put it with the rest of the chicken. Again, if I didn't say this is about 1 pound of chicken. We have a lot going on. This is a hearty stew. Get the chicken out, and we're gonna put the vegetables in. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon or so of olive oil. Do you see those all those beautiful drippings in there. About a tablespoon, because we want all that flavor, of course. And then goes our carrots, celery, garlic, and then our onion. I'll use the back of my knife. Don't use the side with your blade, you'll dull it. Perfect. Now, of course, what we need to do is season. We just added ingredients. We need to season salt and pepper. So, a couple good pinches. And then, after that, you guessed it, the more granulated onion, granulated garlic. You know, about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. I'm telling you, the layers of flavor make a huge, huge difference. It really, really does. I've experimented a lot. It makes a big difference. Okay, now for the rest of the herbs. I like dried thyme. You could, of course, use fresh. I'm using, what I would say, about a 1/2 teaspoon dried thyme. And I like to just crush it in my hand. I've been taught this in the past. And it's been sitting there for a while. So that works. And then anything Mediterranean, Italian-ish, like a basil, oregano, for me, has to be there. I'm going to use a strong teaspoon. If you don't want to use that much, that's okay, but use at least a 1/2 teaspoon. It needs to be there. And then, of course, I'm going to put in some heat. Chili flake, red chili flake. If you don't want the heat, of course, don't worry about it. Don't use it. Now, we're just going to toss this real quick together. Now, one thing that I always say, and I think it's extremely important with any dish, if you just put liquids in here right now and you don't let these seasonings at least sear a minute, it's always going to taste like unfinished or raw. You need to let them give a couple minutes just for those seasonings to come into play. Otherwise, I don't know, it just doesn't come out right. Now, tomato paste, another one that needs to be cooked at least for a few seconds. I'm going to put about, we're going to add a lot of tomatoes in here, but I'm going to put about a tablespoon or so of tomato paste. And that's another one. Don't put that into liquids raw. It needs to like sear on the bottom. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to incorporate the tomato paste in with the vegetables and all the seasonings and herbs that we have in here. I'm going to let it go for about 2 minutes. That's all it needs. You just need to get heat on all that seasoning. When we come back, I'm going to add in the chicken back in. We're going to obviously add our farro, our liquids, and everything else. Just give me about 2 minutes. Okay, so we're back. All of our vegetables and our herbs and all the spices had a little bit of time, 2 minutes. We got all the nice bits off the bottom from the chicken and spices. That's perfect. That's what we have going on right here. Look, it's beautiful, and just a little bit of that, the liquid that comes from the vegetables themselves pulled off all those little bits on the bottom that we want. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is put this together. This is as simple as it gets. I'm gonna put in 3 bay leaves. I'm using 3 only because they're tiny. If you have bigger ones, use as much as you want. Now I'm gonna add in the liquids. So for the liquids, I'm gonna add in a quart of chicken stock. I'm also going to turn this heat up because we want to bring it up a little higher. So to like a medium high right now because we're adding a lot of liquid. And then I'm going to add 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. You can of course use whole tomatoes, just use your hand to squeeze them, whatever, it's fine. Just make sure you use the best tomatoes you can get. San Marzanos are my favorite. And then when it comes to a fagioli, obviously you need beans, right? So I'm using a 15.5-ounce can of cannellini beans. Away. 15-ounce can. And then another 15.5-ounce can. I like to do both. I don't know, I think this should be like a kind of a heartier stew. So I'm gonna do also some kidney beans. Same 15.5 ounce can of kidney beans. I got an oil on my hand, sorry. So then to that, I like to just add, you can make fun of me if you want, I like to add some green. So I'm adding some frozen chopped spinach. Well, yeah, there's vitamins in there and I feel like it just needs something green. And there's no reason to what we usually have to do is let it defrost and squeeze it and all that. This is just stew. You don't need to do that. So usually my bag comes at 16 ounces. I use half, so about 8 ounces. And again, you don't have to squeeze it all out. It's all going into a stew, it's fine. And then to that, as much chicken, listen to me, cheese rinds as you have. Parmesan cheese rinds, or if pepperino cheese rinds, Parmesan cheese rinds is best. Put a couple of those in there. You can't, that always adds a ton of flavor.
So you never would get rid of your cheese rinds? You would always save them in the freezer and then use them for soup or stews?
I never throw a cheese rind out. Never. It doesn't happen. Never. Don't do that. Keep them. They make everything taste so much better. Now I'm just adding in the chicken. And if there's any jus like that, get rid of that. And now, I think we're missing the one other thing that we substituted for our pasta is the farro. Now this is 8.8 ounces. I would typically use just 8, which is a cup. But I'm not keeping 0.8 ounces around, so I'm gonna put it all in here. And that's it. So now I'm gonna mix everything together. Look how beautiful that is. Come on, tell me that you don't wanna eat that already. So all I'm gonna do is mix this together. I'm gonna put the lid on a jar. I'm gonna have it over medium-high heat until it starts to bubble. Bring it down to a simmer and then let it go for about 20-25 minutes. Check after 20 minutes and see if your farro's done. If it's tender, you're good. Your chicken will definitely be done because we already seared it. It'll definitely be done. Taste it. When we come back, all we're gonna do is put a little blush on this pretty girl. Okay, here we are. We're back. Our stew, it is a thick stew. It's very, 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 very thick. There's a lot going on in here. We got 3 proteins going on. Look how thick it got. Now, all I'm gonna do is add the blush to this pretty girl. So about a half a cup. I don't think it needs much. If you don't wanna do it, you don't have to do it. You don't have to give it blush. You can leave it without. I'm just gonna mix that in and then we're gonna give it a taste and see what we think of the difference in the fazools. Let's see. I want to make sure I get at least a little piece of chicken. Obviously, we're going to have the, well, that's a big piece of chicken. I'm not going to be able to put that in my mouth. I'll just have to start here. It's too hot. Let's just taste for flavor. Now, I did taste this for flavor afterwards. I thought it needed a little bit more seasoning. So instead of using salt and pepper, I used a little bit more Old Bay, but a little bit more salt and pepper is fine. And if your tomatoes are a little on the sour side, just a tiny dash of honey rounds it all out. Now, the only thing I'm gonna add to top this with, you can top it with obviously basil. I'm just using a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of grated, freshly grated Parmesan cheese. I don't think it really needs anything else. Well, let's see how we did with this shake up. Chicken's tender. Flavors are great. And the farro is what really makes it different, because it's not that pasta that can sometimes get too far. It stays nice and toothsome. So try this. Shake-ups are fun. They're fun to try. They're fun to, I mean, your family and friends are gonna love it. I don't see why they wouldn't. This is darn good. So get in the kitchen and make this for your family and friends and have fun. That's what shake-ups are about. And speaking of shake-ups, if you haven't already, check out my book, Shake-ups, Chowders and Shake-ups for the Week, and of course my new book, Continental Taste Volume 1. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Remember, hit the cute little bell icon over there. And until I see you next time, know that I'm always sending hugs. This dish right here, this is a hug.